Hello friends and welcome back to Digitalk. So if you're planning to learn Terraform to enhance your skills, or maybe you are working on the Terraform, okay, but you want to learn the multiple advanced lab exercises and sessions, then okay, then I'm going to launch Terraform end-to-end course very soon on our channel. Okay, it will be there in a next in a day, or maybe in a couple of days or a week of a time. Okay, which where I'm covering every concept of Terraform from scratch with the multiple lab exercises, where I will explain each and every block code of the Terraform, what is the meaning of that, what is the purpose of that, and I will explain you everything with the execution. And definitely by the end of that particular course, you will be a good knowledge of the Terraform, and you can able to handle or you can say you can able to handle the infrastructure independently. Okay, with only the exercises or execution that I'm going to explain you in the particular course. Okay, so before that, I'm just creating this session to give an overview of Terraform, or you can say it is an introduction to Terraform. What exactly is Terraform? Okay, why we use it, and what is the benefit of using the Terraform? Okay, so if you have some idea of the Terraform, what exactly it is, we called it as a IaC. That means infrastructure as a code. Okay, now two things are here. The very first thing is infrastructure. Okay, and then second is code. That means we are maintaining the infrastructure with the help of code. Okay, so now what does it mean when we say that infrastructure as a code? We are maintaining the infrastructure as a code. That means we are getting the benefit of the code. The whatever the way we develop the code, we manage the code, we manage the complete end-to-end life cycle of a code. The same benefit we can get in the Terraform as well. Okay, now let us take about few examples of the code. So when we develop the code, okay, we are developing some code with the help of some programming languages. Okay, so what we do, we maintain the multiple versions of the code, right? We have a centralized repository where the multiple developers are working, right? Say what whenever they update the code or change the code, they check in to the central repository, and then whenever they wanted to work, they check out. So we have a check-in and check-out mechanism where the multiple developers are working on a centralized repository. Okay, and then what we do, we maintain the multiple versions of the code. Okay, the benefit of maintaining the multiple version is the very first thing. If you want to implement any new version of the code in your production environment, you want to roll back to any of the previous environment, you can do it easily because you have a complete end-to-end versions of the code. You can move between the different versions anytime, right? You can easily roll back, you can easily implement and deploy the new code. Okay, and along with that, apart from this versioning, okay, we have the reusability option. Reusability, that means whenever we write the code, so we apply the object oriented programming syntax or the functionality. What does it mean? Write once, okay, and use many places. Right, that means we when we have certain kind of a code that need to be used at multiple places or in multiple programs, so we do not writing the same code again and again. We what we do, we apply the object oriented programming. Okay, for example, we define a function, we define a function, right? So we define all the repetitive code inside the functions, and then wherever we need to call this particular code, we call the directly the functions. We don't write the same code again and again, right? So these are the certain benefits when we or the best practices that we follow when we are working in the code. Okay, now same benefit here we can get for the maintaining the infrastructure as well. Okay, and that's why it is called infrastructure as a code. We are maintaining the complete infrastructure as a code. That means if you want to create any infrastructure, for example, if I let us take the example of AWS cloud, you want to create the virtual private cloud, which is called the VPC. You want to create the subnet, you want to create the one virtual machine, you want to create or configure the storage, you want to configure the load balancer. Okay, so all these hardware resources that you can configure and manage with the help of code. Okay, so basically what we do in Terraform, we write some scripts. Okay, we write some scripts, and with the help of that scripts, we create the resources in the cloud. So mostly Terraform we use for the cloud resources. Okay, so the benefit what I discuss here about the code, okay, same benefit we get here for the Terraform. And why we get the benefit? Because we are maintaining the infrastructure with the help of code, which I am referring as a script. Okay, so we write the different scripts in the Terraform, okay, for whatever the resources that we would like to configure. So there could be a multiple configuration files in the Terraform. So in that case, just like we are maintaining the multiple versions of the code in a centralized location, where the multiple developers are working. We are moving from one version to another. Anytime we want to roll back, we can come anytime, and we are using the reusability feature, right, for the repetitive code. Similarly here, when we write the scripts for the Terraform, okay, so now because we have the script, so we can maintain the proper versioning of the infrastructure as well. Version 1, okay, so here we have created the two virtual machines and one storage. Now after some time we have released the new infrastructure where we have three virtual machines and two storage, right? So similarly you can go up to the any version. So anytime you want to move back, okay, you want to revert back to the previous infrastructure, like which earlier it was two virtual machines, one storage, and now we have a three virtual machine and two storage, but I want to roll back or revert back to the previous infrastructure. So we just run the scripts which we have developed, okay, and then we can go back easily to the previous version. So that means we are maintaining the infrastructure as a code, right? We are getting the benefit of a code. So we can easily roll back to any of the previous versions. We can easily implement the new infrastructure using this particular scripts anytime. And then reusability. So reusability means, so these are the scripts that we have developed in Terraform for the infrastructure configuration. So now we have a development environment, quality environment, testing environment, production environment, pre-production environment. Now you want to build up your different environments where you have a multiple virtual machines, storage, load balancers, everything, right? So you can write the code once, and same code we can use to implement the resources in any environment. You don't need to write your this particular Terraform code again and again. Write it once and utilize it anywhere for the different environments. The only difference is that you need to provide some variables as an input to your code, right? Because in development environment you may have a VPC with the name of VPC underscore dev, and production you may have a VPC with the name of VPC underscore prod, right? So that means these are some variables which will be differ in different environments. So you just need to provide the variables according to your environment, and same code you can utilize to implement the resources across the different environments. Okay, this is why it is called the infrastructure as a code, because we are getting the complete end-to-end benefit of the code. The way the best practices we follow in the code, same benefit we get here as well in the Terraform. And why? Because we are maintaining complete infrastructure by writing the code. Okay, so now when we say we are writing the code, so what is the way how we write the different code? So let me explain you. So let me erase it. Okay, so what we do basically when we have to use a Terraform for processing of the resources, okay, so we create some different files, configuration files with the extension of .tf, and then one more .tf vars. So this .tf.var contain the variables, and .tf file contain our main execution logic. So we will have a multiple files based on the resources that we are going to configure. Okay. So now what I'm talking about here in terms of the configuration, it follows the HCL format. HCL format. So now what is HCL? HashiCorp configuration language. Okay. HashiCorp configuration language. So this HCL, HashiCorp, was an American-based company which is now acquired by the IBM. As far as I know, in 2025, it is part of the IBM now. Okay, so this organization has developed multiple tools for the infrastructure management. Okay, and Terraform is one of the tool for the infrastructure management which was developed by the HashiCorp. Okay, so they have their own syntax for designing the code files for the Terraform. So it's very easy language. It's very straightforward, human readable language where we write the different blocks in the curly braces. Okay, and there is a specific purpose of each and every block, and then it's a very straightforward and very easy language. You just need to understand few keywords, what are the different keywords for specific cloud service providers, and then you need to learn how we define the different blocks using the HCL language. Okay, and for that you don't need the experience of any programming language. Even you are not from a development background, you are not from a coding background, okay, then again it is very easy to understand. You don't need any kind of a programming background to work in the Terraform. Okay, so basically if you are going to learn the Terraform, so what are the prerequisites? So very first thing, Terraform, as I said, mostly we use for provisioning of the your hardware resources, specifically in the cloud. Mostly we use in the cloud. Okay, so when we say we are using it for provisioning of the infrastructure in some cloud, okay, so that means this is my Terraform. So suppose I have installed Terraform in my local laptop, and here I have defined my configuration files. configuration files. Now, this need to create the resources in some cloud account. It could be your AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, or any of the cloud, okay? Because Terraform is a cloud agnostic. You can use this for multiple clouds wherever you want to work. Okay, so now when you're going to configure the resources in your AWS or any of the cloud, okay, so you need the understanding of the some of the cloud like the AWS. Okay, so in AWS, first we create the VPC, virtual private cloud, which is a private cloud for each and every customer which is on the cloud data centers. Then we create the subnets. Then we create the EC2 virtual machine. Then we configure the storage. We configure the load balancer. Right. So before you are learning the Terraform, okay, so it is good to have a good understanding of some of the cloud service providers. And if you have a knowledge of any one of the cloud service providers, then you can work it for any CSP, whether it is AWS, Azure, because only few terms are different that you can easily understand from the documentation of that particular service, cloud service providers. So basically, in a nutshell, Terraform we use for management of the end-to-end network, your infrastructure. Okay, and mostly as I said, we use it is for the cloud. Installation configuration is very straightforward. It is a small Terraform file which you can download in your system and add in your path variable, and it is up and ready. Installation is very straightforward. It will take couple of minutes only. Okay. After that, what you need to learn? You need to learn the configuration files, which is in the HCL HashiCorp configuration language. So important thing when you are going to learn the Terraform, focus on two things. The very first thing, HCL HashiCorp configuration language, and second, information, learn some cloud service provider. So if you have already a knowledge of any of the cloud service provider, then focus on here only. But if you are going to learn the Terraform from scratch, you don't have a cloud knowledge, then you have to work on HCL and then cloud. So the session or the you can say the advanced series, okay, for beginners to advanced that I am going to post on channel very soon. Okay, there I am going to give you an overview of the AWS as well. So first couple of sessions will be on the AWS, where I will explain you some basic knowledge of AWS, okay, which is required to work in the Terraform, and then I will jump into the Terraform from scratch. What is Terraform? How to build the different configuration files in the HCL format, and then we will understand it with the multiple labs and implementations.